You've heard it countless times. Think positive, visualize success, manifest your dreams. The law of attraction has been sold as the ultimate secret to unlimited abundance. But there's a shadow lurking behind those perfect Instagram quotes and manifestation journals. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain on what nobody wants to discuss, the dangerous side of manifestation culture that's leaving millions feeling worse than before they started. This isn't about crushing dreams. It's about freeing yourself from the invisible chains this philosophy might have wrapped around your mind. What you're about to learn contradicts everything the billion-dollar manifestation industry wants you to believe. The toxic positivity trap that's making you suppress real emotions. The blame game that turns victims into their own tormentors. The privilege blind spot that ignores real-world barriers. Most manifestation gurus won't touch these truths because it threatens their entire business model. But understanding these hidden pitfalls doesn't mean abandoning hope. It means approaching personal growth with clear eyes and authentic power. By the end of this video, you'll see manifestation in a completely new light, one that actually serves your well-being instead of someone else's profit margin. That warm, fuzzy feeling of positive thinking sounds amazing on paper. Just focus on good thoughts, right? But this is where the law of attraction takes a dark turn into what psychologists call toxic positivity. Many devotees of manifestation culture pressure themselves into constant happiness. Anger, suppress it. Sadness, push it down. Fear, ignore it completely. This enforced emotional state isn't just unnatural, it's psychologically damaging. Human beings evolved with a full emotional spectrum for good reason. Negative emotions serve as crucial warning signals and processing mechanisms. Studies from leading mental health researchers reveal that people who chronically deny their negative emotions actually experience more anxiety and depression long term. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The harder you push down, the more forcefully it eventually explodes to the surface. Manifestation teachings often suggest that acknowledging reality when it's painful means focusing on what you don't want, creating a perfect trap. Lost your job? Don't process it, just visualize a new one. Relationship problems? Don't address them, just manifest better communication. This approach creates a dangerous pattern of avoidance that prevents actual problem solving. What makes this particularly insidious is how it transforms normal human suffering into evidence of personal failure. Feeling bad about a difficult situation becomes proof that you're not manifesting correctly or vibrating at a low frequency. This adds shame on top of already challenging circumstances. The most damaging aspect is how it separates people from their authentic selves. Living in a perpetual state of forced positivity disconnects you from genuine emotional responses and intuition. Many followers report feeling like emotional frauds, smiling on the outside while disconnecting from their true internal experience. Acknowledging reality, including its painful aspects, isn't negative thinking, it's the foundation of genuine resilience. True emotional intelligence means recognizing all feelings as valid messengers, not obstacles to manifestation. When we accept our complete emotional landscape, we gain actual power to transform situations rather than just pretend they're already different. Ironically, the pressure to maintain constant positivity creates precisely the anxiety and internal conflict that manifestation practitioners are trying to avoid. Perhaps most troubling about manifestation philosophy is its underlying message that everything happening in your life, good or bad, is something you attracted. This core belief system creates a perfect storm for victim blaming, both toward others and yourself. When taken to its logical conclusion, the law of attraction suggests that people experiencing poverty, illness, abuse, or trauma somehow attracted these experiences through negative thinking or wrong vibrations. This reasoning quickly becomes absurd and cruel when applied to real world suffering. Did children with cancer manifest their illness? Did victims of natural disasters attract destruction through improper thoughts? Many manifestation teachers backpedal when pressed on these points, creating complex explanations about soul contracts or past lives. But the fundamental message remains unchanged. You are ultimately responsible for everything happening to you, regardless of circumstances beyond your control. This thinking creates devastating psychological effects. People facing genuine hardship now carry an additional burden of shame and self blame. Rather than processing grief or seeking necessary help, they turn inward with questions like, "Why did I attract this?" And "What's wrong with my thinking?" This self blame often delays actual problem solving and amplifies suffering. Social psychology research shows this mentality closely resembles what experts call the just world fallacy, the mistaken belief that the world is inherently fair and people get what they deserve. While comforting to those in privileged positions, this fallacy crumbles when confronting systemic injustice, random tragedy, or the complex interplay of factors affecting human lives. Manifestation culture has weaponized this fallacy into a spiritual ideology, making it even harder to challenge. Questioning these ideas isn't just disagreeing with a technique, it's portrayed as refusing to take responsibility or lacking spiritual awareness. Meanwhile, those selling manifestation programs conveniently avoid addressing how their own wealth comes largely from selling courses, books, and coaching, not from manifesting checks from the universe. The industry profits from people's self blame rather than addressing the complex social, economic, and biological factors that shape our experiences. Accountability matters, but there's a critical difference between taking responsibility for your actions and responses versus blaming yourself for circumstances entirely outside your control. True empowerment comes from recognizing this distinction, not from assuming total cosmic control. Most law of attraction teachings operate from a massive privilege blind spot. Famous manifestation gurus love telling stories about visualizing parking spots, receiving unexpected checks, or manifesting dream vacations. What they rarely acknowledge is how structural advantages made their successes possible in the first place. When wealthy influencers claim they manifested success through positive thinking alone, they conveniently ignore their access to education, financial safety nets, social connections, and systemic advantages. This creates a deeply misleading picture of how opportunity actually works in the real world. Manifestation culture routinely dismisses socioeconomic barriers that genuinely limit options for many people. Someone working 3 jobs to survive doesn't lack abundance because of negative thinking. They face concrete structural obstacles that positive visualization alone cannot overcome. Poverty isn't a mindset problem. It's a complex social reality involving resource distribution, policy decisions, and historical inequities. Health inequalities follow similar patterns. While mindset certainly impacts well-being, suggesting someone couldn't manifest healing because they didn't believe hard enough ignores medical realities of healthcare access, environmental factors, and genetic predispositions. This messaging proves especially harmful to chronically ill people already fighting for medical recognition. Studies from social psychology consistently demonstrate that belief in pure meritocracy, the idea that success comes solely from individual effort, correlates with reduced empathy toward disadvantaged groups. Manifestation philosophy often reinforces this belief, framing systemic problems as simply individual failures of manifestation. Multiple peer-reviewed studies show that privileged individuals tend to attribute their success to personal qualities while underestimating external advantages that help them. This blind spot makes it easy for successful manifestation teachers to genuinely believe their achievements came primarily through thought power rather than privilege. Even accessing manifestation practices requires privilege. Having time for lengthy visualization exercises, money for workshops, mental bandwidth for gratitude practices, these all require resources many people simply don't have. The person working multiple jobs while caring for dependents faces very different manifestation conditions than someone with leisure time and financial security. Genuine manifestation would require acknowledging these disparities honestly. True abundance thinking would recognize structural barriers while still encouraging personal agency. Instead, mainstream manifestation culture gaslights those facing real obstacles, suggesting their continued struggles simply reflect insufficient faith or flawed execution of manifestation principles. Manifestation culture often blurs the line between healthy visualization and problematic magical thinking. While many law of attraction teachers give lip service to taking action, their primary emphasis remains on thought as the dominant creative force. This imbalance creates a dangerous substitute for meaningful effort. Most manifestation programs suggest that correct visualization represents 90% of achieving goals, with action as almost an afterthought. This dramatically misrepresents how achievement actually works. Numerous psychology studies confirm that while visualization can enhance motivation, it cannot replace consistent effort, skill development, strategic planning, or persistence through obstacles. Followers frequently report spending hours creating vision boards, reciting affirmations, and visualizing outcomes while postponing concrete steps toward their goals. Rather than researching actual business strategies, they visualize clients. Instead of developing marketable skills, they affirm future abundance. This substitution effect often delays real progress indefinitely. Brain research provides further insight into this problem. When people vividly visualize achieving a goal, they experience similar neural rewards to actually achieving it. This premature satisfaction can paradoxically reduce motivation to pursue the goal in reality. Studies show that visualizing the process and overcoming obstacles proves more effective than simply imagining the end result. Manifestation teachings frequently suggest that doubts or obstacles represent resistance or blocks rather than valuable feedback about strategy. This framing encourages followers to double down on visualization rather than adjusting their practical approach when facing setbacks. Real success typically requires constant adaptation based on results. Many successful people incorrectly attribute their achievements primarily to mindset while underestimating the thousands of small actions, corrections, and persistence that actually created their outcome. When manifestation teachers share these selective success stories, they reinforce the illusion that thought alone drives results. What makes this particularly harmful is how it can delay critical life progress. People report postponing medical treatment in favor of healing visualizations, avoiding necessary career training while waiting for inspired opportunities, or delaying financial planning while expecting sudden abundance. These choices have real consequences beyond delayed dreams. Most manifestations require consistent bridges between thought and action. Wanting a promotion means developing relevant skills and relationships. Desiring better health involves consistent nutrition and movement habits. Building wealth requires financial education and strategic decisions. Vision without action remains just fantasy. Regardless of how intensely someone believes or how precisely they visualize, few discuss how manifestation teachings often create an exhausting anxiety loop in practitioners' minds. When every thought supposedly shapes reality, thinking becomes a high-stakes activity filled with danger. Many followers report developing intense fear around negative thoughts, believing each worried moment might manifest terrible outcomes. This creates a mental monitoring system that never shuts off. Someone worried about finances now faces double anxiety, stress about money, plus panic that this worry will attract more financial problems. Rather than processing natural concerns, they frantically try to suppress them, creating a psychological pressure cooker. Cognitive science clearly shows that attempting to suppress thoughts actually increases their frequency and intensity. Tell yourself not to think about a pink elephant, and suddenly pink elephants dominate your mental landscape. Similarly, trying not to think negative thoughts about health, money, or relationships paradoxically amplifies those very concerns. Mental health professionals increasingly report clients suffering from what might be called manifestation anxiety, persistent worry about their thoughts attracting disaster. This creates a particularly vicious cycle where anxiety about negative thinking generates more negative thoughts, leading to deeper anxiety, often culminating in full panic attacks. Many practitioners describe feeling like their minds have become battlegrounds, constantly fighting against unwanted thoughts. This internal war creates chronic stress states, activating the sympathetic nervous system and flooding the body with stress hormones. Ironically, this physiological stress state often exacerbates the very health, relationship, or financial problems they fear. Sleep quality typically deteriorates under this thought policing regime. Followers report lying awake, cataloging worrisome thoughts from the day, fearful these might manifest overnight. This sleep disruption further impairs cognitive function, emotional regulation, and general well-being, creating a downward spiral of both physical and mental health. Manifestation communities frequently normalize this anxiety as a necessary part of conscious creation, framing it as spiritual vigilance rather than psychological distress. This normalization prevents many from seeking appropriate mental health support when experiencing symptoms of anxiety disorders or obsessive thought patterns. Clinical psychologists note the similarity between extreme law of attraction practice and certain forms of obsessive compulsive disorder, particularly puro OCD, focused on intrusive thoughts. Both involve excessive concern about thought content, elaborate mental rituals to neutralize perceived dangers, and persistent fear that thinking something makes it more likely to happen. This mental hypervigilance depletes cognitive resources needed for actual problem solving, life enjoyment, and genuine personal growth. Far from creating freedom, many find manifestation practices have trapped them in exhausting mental prisons, constantly monitoring thoughts for any sign of negativity. Manifestation practices can quietly transform from harmless techniques into full-blown obsessions that dominate a person's life. What begins as excited participation in visualization exercises often evolves into compulsive ritual, with practitioners becoming increasingly rigid about their manifestation routines. Missing even one day of affirmations or visualization can trigger intense anxiety and fear of manifestation failure. Many former devotees describe how manifestation consumed increasing amounts of their time and mental energy. Morning routines expanded from 15-minute meditations to hour-long visualization sessions. Throughout the day, they'd monitor thoughts, constantly redirecting to positive alternatives. Evenings required extensive journaling and gratitude practices. This escalating time commitment often came at the expense of actual living, ironically sacrificing present joy for hypothetical future abundance. Social relationships frequently suffer as manifestation becomes all-consuming. Practitioners report avoiding people with low vibrations or those who express skepticism about manifestation principles. Friends and family describe watching loved ones withdraw into manifestation communities, becoming defensive when anyone questions their practices. This social isolation removes important reality checks that might otherwise moderate extreme beliefs. Financial costs accumulate as obsession deepens. What starts with an affordable book quickly expands to premium courses, exclusive retreats, and high-priced personal coaching. Many practitioners report spending thousands of dollars they couldn't afford on manifestation products, justifying these expenses as investments in abundance, despite mounting credit card debt. Psychology research identifies several warning signs of unhealthy manifestation fixation: inability to tolerate uncertainty, black and white thinking about manifestation success, extreme emotional responses to perceived manifestation failures, and withdrawal from relationships with non-believers. These patterns closely resemble addiction behaviors rather than healthy personal development practices. Physical symptoms often emerge from manifestation obsession. Chronic anxiety about thought control disrupts sleep patterns. Constant vigilance about alignment creates persistent muscle tension. Some practitioners report neglecting actual health issues while focusing exclusively on energetic or vibrational explanations for physical symptoms. Most concerning is how manifestation obsession often delays addressing serious life problems. Rather than seeking appropriate professional help for depression, relationship difficulties, career challenges, or health concerns, some practitioners double down on manifestation efforts, believing more spiritual work will eventually resolve these issues. This postponement can allow situations to deteriorate significantly before receiving needed attention. Former practitioners frequently describe a crash point where exhaustion from constant manifestation vigilance finally overwhelms them. This breaking point often comes after manifestation failures that can no longer be explained away, creating profound disillusionment and identity crisis as their entire belief system collapses. Manifestation culture frequently enables spiritual bypassing, a term coined by psychologist John Wellwood to describe using spiritual concepts to avoid facing uncomfortable emotions or difficult situations. Within law of attraction communities, this bypassing often wears the mask of maintaining high vibrations or staying in alignment. Pain serves essential functions in human experience. It signals problems needing attention, facilitates necessary grieving processes, and motivates appropriate change. Yet manifestation teachings commonly frame emotional pain as merely a low vibration to be transcended rather than a messenger to be heard. Grief becomes something to quickly overcome rather than move through. Anger transforms from a signal about boundaries into evidence of spiritual misalignment. Most concerning are manifestation responses to relational problems. Rather than engaging in difficult conversations about needs, boundaries, or hurt feelings, practitioners often retreat into private visualization about improved relationships. When partners express concerns, these communications get reframed as negative energy to be avoided rather than important feedback requiring attention. This pattern prevents genuine resolution while creating a facade of spiritual sophistication. Financial struggles receive similar treatment. Instead of developing practical budgeting skills, addressing spending patterns, or building financial literacy, manifestation practitioners might focus exclusively on abundance affirmations. Bills pile up while they attend expensive manifestation workshops, promising to address money blocks. This avoidance allows financial problems to compound while creating an illusion of proactive response. Health concerns become particularly vulnerable to spiritual bypassing. Many practitioners report delaying medical treatment while pursuing energetic healing modalities. Physical symptoms get reinterpreted as merely energetic imbalances, rather than potential warning signs requiring medical attention. This dangerous pattern can allow treatable conditions to progress unnecessarily. Psychological pain often receives the most pronounced bypassing. Trauma requires processing and integration, yet manifestation teachings frequently suggest simply choosing better feeling thoughts. Depression becomes framed as a manifestation failure rather than a condition needing appropriate support. Anxiety transforms from a signal requiring attention into evidence of manifestation mistakes. Former practitioners frequently describe a jarring awakening when reality finally broke through their spiritual bypassing defenses. Health issues eventually demanded medical intervention. Ignored relationship problems culminated in painful breakups. Financial avoidance led to significant crises. The accumulated cost of bypassing ultimately exceeded the discomfort that would have come from facing these issues directly. Authentic spiritual growth involves facing reality with courage rather than transcending it through spiritual concepts. Genuine manifestation would incorporate honest assessment of current circumstances rather than using manifestation principles to avoid uncomfortable truths. True vibration raising comes through integration of all experiences, not selective attention to only the pleasant ones. Manifestation marketing routinely crosses ethical lines with guaranteed outcomes no reputable psychologist, financial advisor, or medical professional would dare promise. Bold claims like manifest anything in 30 days or attract unlimited wealth create unrealistic expectations while evading legal scrutiny by hiding behind spiritual terminology. When regulated industries require evidence and accountability, manifestation sellers operate in a convenient gray area of unfalsifiable claims. Most manifestation programs employ sophisticated marketing psychology targeting vulnerable individuals during life transitions or crises. Job losses, breakups, health scares, and financial difficulties create perfect entry points for programs promising rapid transformation. Emotional vulnerability combined with desperate hope creates ideal customers willing to invest beyond their means in promised solutions. Pricing strategies within the industry reveal predatory patterns. Entry-level products remain deliberately affordable. Free YouTube videos, $20 books, or $97 mini courses create low-risk entry points. But these introductory offerings inevitably point toward premium programs costing thousands, presented as the real secret to manifestation success. This ascension model mirrors multi-level marketing tactics, continuously upselling customers on promises of finally accessing the missing piece. Many manifestation teachers create deliberate information gaps in their free content, generating curiosity while withholding key elements they claim make manifestation work. This manufactured incompleteness drives sales of premium offerings that promise to fill these strategic gaps. Former industry insiders describe intentionally designing content to create this curiosity loop rather than providing complete, actionable information. Refund policies often contain manipulative elements. When customers request refunds after failed manifestations, they're told their refund request itself demonstrates lack of faith or resistance blocking their manifestation. This circular reasoning traps dissatisfied customers by suggesting their dissatisfaction causes their lack of results. Some programs even require signing manifestation contracts, promising not to harbor doubts, creating psychological barriers to refund requests. Success stories highlighted in manifestation marketing typically represent extreme outliers rather than average results. These testimonials often come from affiliates with financial interest in program promotion or from people receiving special attention not available to average customers. Fine print rarely discloses these conflicts of interest. Perhaps most problematic failed manifestation becomes the customer's fault rather than the program's responsibility. Unlike regulated industries where sellers bear responsibility for product performance, manifestation products place all accountability on buyers. This convenient arrangement ensures profitable customer retention despite poor results, as disappointed customers blame themselves rather than demanding accountability from sellers. This billion-dollar industry operates largely without oversight, educational standards, ethical guidelines, or effectiveness metrics, creating perfect conditions for exploitation while positioning criticism as evidence of limiting beliefs rather than legitimate consumer protection concerns. Manifestation principles aren't inherently negative, but their commercialized, oversimplified packaging has created real harm. Taking back personal power means recognizing that thoughts influence experience without controlling external reality entirely. This balanced approach acknowledges both personal agency and external factors shaping our lives. Real transformation comes from combining visualization with consistent action, emotional intelligence, and honest assessment of circumstances. It means using manifestation as one tool among many rather than a universal solution. It requires differentiating between what we can control and what we cannot. Healthy manifestation practices enhance life without creating anxiety, self-blame, or bypassing. They complement rather than replace professional guidance for serious issues. They acknowledge systemic factors while still encouraging personal empowerment. They integrate negative emotions rather than suppressing them. This video isn't about abandoning hope or positive thinking. It's about freeing ourselves from counterproductive manifestation myths that create unnecessary suffering. True abundance emerges from seeing reality clearly, taking appropriate action, building genuine skills, and connecting authentically with others, not from magical thinking or forced positivity. If this different perspective on manifestation resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We're committed to bringing you these deeper conversations that go beyond surface-level personal development. Your support helps us continue creating content that challenges mainstream narratives while offering authentic alternatives.